Hi everyone, glad you could join us. We've got a very special show for you this week. So over the years that been doing the show, we visited a lot of trams. They're really fascinating. I love trams. So trams go from the very simple gravity operated trams that only had 2 buckets to the biggest one had 545 buckets, huge motors, and a big deal. So we're also going to go meet a guy that restored a tram that was abandoned back in 1895, hired a helicopter, got all the pieces off and restored it. So we're getting lots of stuff about trams. We're not going to be underground this week, so quickly we can show you how trams work. Just a huge main cable here that goes here. These 2 wire wheels just roll on there, and then they just have cables that actually pull it up and down on a smaller cable on the other side. So similar to the way a ski hill works today. So fascinating show about trams. The reason they use trams, because this country is really steep, and of course they didn't have cats and hose and trucks and stuff back in the 1800s. Trams are a very efficient way of moving along, or not very many tram towers left standing because it's so old now. But we'll show you what we know about trams, and we've got lots of really cool footage for you. Most of it's probably mental. You don't like dark places that are wet and you're claustrophobic. You have a bunch of phobias and stuff. It's not going to be the place for you. This is the very first tram line we ever found, and it actually wasn't even used for hauling ore. It was up at Phoenix, and this tram was, the railway hauled all the dynamite up to the end of the line, and then they had a tram going up to a powder house so that, the dynamite wasn't stored near the town. So this was the very first tram we ever saw. It's interesting, but not an ore tram. Let's see some others. Hey everyone, so today we're heading up to Sheep Creek, up to the Yellowstone mine. This is one of the last remaining tram lines that's still standing. It's a gravity tram line, so when the one bucket's full, it goes all the way down. It takes the empty one back up, and so they go back and forth. There's 2 halves to the station where the trams, and we'll go up there and visit that. And we'll show you how it works. Very few of these still left standing, and anything left to see them. So it's kind of a real treat to see this. So we're going to have the hill there. We're going to follow. There's 2 tram lines going up. One's collapsed. The tram station's collapsed. The one on the right is still standing. We'll go visit that. The trams in BC were basically in a long line from the United States border going north, starting from Salmo up through Sandon and to Kaslo, where most of the lines are. And here we are. We're following these lines, and this is one of the real cool towers that's still standing, and we'll show it to you. So on the way up, along the lines, you see these buckets, and you see these buckets are all riveted, so they're built before 1920. And there's the catch. See that catch there clicked onto the other part, and that was part of the tipping mechanism. It came off there and tipped it. So here we are. We're up near the really cool tram tower. It's one of the few ones that are still standing. And we're going to walk inside there, and we'll show you how this whole thing operated, the bins. This is where the ore went in the top, the bin. As you can see, it's very well built. It's all like 2x4s just stacked on top of each other, so fairly robust. But it has to be because, the top part's the bin, so there's lots of ore stored in there and quite a lot of weight. But still standing barely.
There's the station, the station house. Oh yeah, well, that might not be standing for too many more years, eh?
I bet, yeah. I'm surprised last winter didn't take it out.
Well, pretty cool tower, eh? Yeah, you can see where the ore chute loaded the buckets. Big tall tower.
I think it's important to kind of document this as best we can while it's still standing and not going to be standing for much longer. Really neat to see that. And this is just kind of a standard design. There's this is a gravity tram. Didn't have no motor or nothing. I'm not sure what this chute was for at the very top. I think maybe it's just for some kind of a waste pieces they're trying to chuck down there or something. I don't know. It didn't really have any real useful function. So
sandwich in one hand, Gatorade in the other hand, and shimmying across some sketchy old steel. And
oh, God hates a coward. Well, it looks pretty cool so far. Huh. Look at the pegboard. There. Keep track of the loads. Right? Yeah. Pegboard. Count the loads. Awesome. You see there's this lever would open this gate here. Let's see if it's gonna work. It still works. There, all the rat shit's gonna come down from the top.
It even went into the bucket.
Well, and there's the setup for the. Is this the brake you figured?
That's the big brake, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so these are ore bins here. Fill these up full of ore on both sides.
So the cables that are left are the stationary cables, right? I would say. So you look at this big wheel here, and there's two parts to it.
Yeah.
There's one that looks like a cable goes around it, and one that looks like a big drive belt goes around it.
Yeah,
or
it's
something.
flat. The one side's flat. The other side's got and near that edge and as far back as possible. Or
Yeah.
I got an idea for a picture too, maybe. Holding this brake. Cool as this, you can see exactly how the ore was loaded. I always wondered about how ore was loaded into these cars, but you can see fairly easy to see how it was done. There's the cable. They just. Well, this is a stationary cable. This cable never moved, as you can see. These wheels would run in these static lines. Two. One on either side. We're really having trouble figuring this out because it seems like this is a gravity tram and you know one goes up and one goes down because this is the end of the line. This can't go any further than here. But there's all kinds of buckets all the way down there. We've seen all kinds of buckets, so we don't really understand why they would only have two small buckets. It doesn't make any sense to us. So.
There's the big bull wheel.
Yeah, the haul back line
Might have just
is on the small,
continuous
is
rotation
on
or
the small
something.
one, right? So not that big of a cable. Oh, we might have to go up there and see if there's a winch up there. What's going on there?
Let's check it out.
I'm a bit curious how this works. Oh, there's a big break up here. Yeah, you might have to. These big haulback lines. Get them up in here.
What happens when I pull this lever up there?
Oh, it's the brakes. Yeah, you're operating the brakes. Oh, the brake bands are still on both of these. That's just a spare one that's sitting here. Yeah, you can see he's operating that big lever downstairs. That's running the brakes. Definitely a freewheeling tram.
Yeah.
Because there's no motor or anything in here, any gearing to that I can see.
Gravity.
So all they had was just two big brake bands. Probably this lever was hooked up to it,
Yeah.
that brake band, and they could slow it down. Here's one last shot of this tram tower up at the top there.
Scaled.
So welcome to another show in Sandon. We're on top of a bucket line. We're following it way up the mountain, been a long ways. This is really cool. It's an old riveted one. Tram tower still standing overlooking the powerhouse and some of other parts of Sandon there. It's right above the Ruth Hope, this one. This is another tram line. I don't think it's hooked up to that, the one that we just saw with the big tower. This looks like where it would start. To me, looks like it was loaded up here. Yeah, this looks like where this started right here. They loaded ore and down it went, I think. Yeah. Pretty massive bull wheel. And again, I don't see a power unit for it. I don't know how it was driven. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to the end of this mine, but we'll try. Pretty tough going. Pretty steep here, so I'm going to go rolling down there. Ah. Wish the tram line was still running. It'd be a lot easier to ride up here in these buckets than it is hiking up over this steep bloody mountainside. You notice the cables, there's two cables, and you see this cable is hooked to the bucket. The top cable up there is what those two idler wheels run on. So the top cable doesn't move, it's only this bottom cable that moves. Yeah, this is the powerhouse where the tram line was running from, where the motor for the tram was. There's a building here, and everything was here to power the tram. Yeah, there we go, there's the big old bull wheel. So I'm here with Rick, and we're just out of Kaslo here, and this guy has all this cool stuff he got out of a mine called the Monzuma. And you probably recognize this from my museum. I have the same thing. This is a locomotive that runs on compressed air, but he has the compressed air tank with it, so that's kind of pretty cool. It'd be nice to have a tank like this for mine, but I don't. Mine runs and everything, but I don't have the air tank for it. They used it for something else. And they got all kinds of cool stuff here. So they got a big Fairbanks Morse engine here that's apparently running. They got it all restored. Pretty big engine. And lots of other cool stuff, tram cars that we're going to show you. Oh, there's a really old, that's a really old ore cart. Haven't seen very many like that before. Huh. Yeah, that definitely would have been, well, that looked like it was pulled on an inclined railway maybe or something at one time, because it's quite wide. Huh. That's pretty old. An incline shaft or something. And there's another ore cart sitting up there. Pretty old one too. The bottom frame for it. Well, that's just a flat car they would use probably for timbers in the mine. And here they have they constructed a tram line here. We got a big winch here. We'll see what was. Well, they've done quite a job on this. This winch here is run by, this hit and miss engine. Oh, eh? Look at that. So as you look at this, the top there, that is actually the water jacket. So the cool water goes out that way, and then he's built a radiator that went through. And then this whole tram was run by that big flat belt there. So the flat belt's not on it right now. But I imagine he had this all operating because everything's there. It's been completely restored. We'll have a quick look at it, and then we'll go see the owner, and he can tell you the story about it and everything else you need to know about this fantastic tram. All right, so this is this tramway. These guys went up to this mine, and they got all these pieces from this tramway, hired a helicopter, and built this. There's a bunch of tram buckets there, carriers, got lots of spare parts. Have a look at this tram line here. Oh, they sure did quite a job here. Rick's going to be jealous. Oh, there you go. There's a pretty old carts here. Well, these are manual. They had to actually unlock these things to tip them. Just tip over like that. The other type we've seen, they just hit an arm and they tip themselves. These ones are actually manual. They have to manually tip them. Unlock them and tip them.
This is pretty cool. This is how you don't see that very often.
Oh yeah.
How they
There's a
take it
derailleur, yeah. Yeah,
off
to get
the
it off.
running cable,
Yeah.
and then back on. Yeah.
Sure, yeah, it goes around. I always wondered if they stop the line when they fill the cars, or how that works. Or if they have some way, like on a ski hill,
I think the answer is right here.
where it slows down.
Here's the answer, Frank. So when it gets on here,
Oh, it
they
derails off it. Oh, I see, it undoes.
release the tension on it.
Yeah. So it's not, yeah.
And
Oh,
then when they're ready to go,
Yeah. We don't commonly see them like that. Usually they're well, what kind of a, oh, there's the Davis, Denver, Colorado. There's the tag on it right there. All right. Oh, that's, yeah, there, this one's uncoupled here. Oh yeah, and that goes on the line. Oh, isn't that neat? Yeah, this one was uncoupled, so
Oh, cool.
come off the line. Huh. Well, I haven't seen that set up that often. Usually they're just solid, so they must
right. Yeah, they're
stop them all the time. But that's a
This
far
one,
better
so
system.
This line keeps going all the time.
Yeah. Which is a lot easier. Yeah, they've rebuilt all this.
And here you go.
Lots of extra buckets here. Yeah. Usually you don't see the bowl. Usually the bowls always got fingers on them, eh?
Yep.
Usually they're like clutch. I've never seen one like that. But I think they rebuilt that. They didn't use the fingers. Maybe they couldn't find them like that. Or a bowl wheel that was in good shape. Wow, man, they sure spent a lot of money on this, eh? Right down to all the zerks and everything for it. Wow. A derailleur. Usually all you see is a big pile of rubble where all these all these cars used to be. And they built the whole thing. Here is Silvio, and he actually he did this whole tram. He got it from the Montezuma mine, and he hauled it all down here, and he's built this this thing. So he's one of these guys that's really interested in mining history, and he'd like to see some of this stuff preserved. And understand you were had a history as an underground miner also.
Yeah.
What are some of the places that you worked at?
Well, I worked mostly in Sandon in the mine there for silver lead because actually there ain't too many mines anymore in British Columbia.
Yeah, underground mining. There's a very few underground mines, just a couple gold mines. That's about it, eh? This is kind of a unique tram. It's not like the ones you normally see. What's the story about how this tram was invented and how they built it?
This is an Adolf Bleichert tram, which is a two-row contraption, and he invented a lot of the stuff here. It has patents on it, and it was probably brought over from Europe to Denver, Colorado, and it was brought up from the States to here to service the Montezuma mine.
But these cars say they're made in Colorado, right?
That's
The
right.
buckets, right?
The buckets were made in Denver, most
Yeah.
likely, because they didn't have to be brought over from
Yeah.
Germany. Maybe.
Yeah, they'd be simply made
But
here.
the
Yeah.
big bull wheels are
Right.
definitely probably, because I measured the shaft too, and it's metric.
Okay. Yeah.
So that, I don't think they would pour metric shafts here.
Yeah. So this clutch, this is really unusual. You don't normally see this on a thing. Explain how that works.
This is open, so the bucket would come in here from over here,
Yeah.
or it would go into here, right?
So this tram line just ran continuously, and then they just unhooked it from this cable.
Yeah, if you look on the back now,
Yeah.
you can see the knuckle. How that knuckle kind of.
Yeah. Well, that's quite the engineering to make all the tolerances tight enough for that all to snap in and to work.
Yeah, the cable had to be the perfect size, and then it would just be clamped on permanently until down below you would throw the lever up again,
Yeah.
detach it, dump it, and then hook it back onto the line again to come up.
So these are a little bit unusual because they have you have to manually undo this clip to do that. Lots of times you see them automatic, right?
Yeah, this one was because it was stopped right at the time, right?
Yeah.
Because it was detached from the cable, so you had time. It was very dangerous when they had mono cables. You had to do that on the fly
Yeah.
initially,
Yeah.
and a lot of people got hurt doing that.
Okay.
But this way you detach it, so you
Yeah.
had time enough to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, the loading was always kind of a problem because it had to stop underneath the car, but I guess the operator would actually have to stop the other type of
I
line.
think Riplet, the one you see in the Best mine over here in Sandon, Riplet invented, what he made is another bucket that would ride alongside this bucket
Okay.
and would empty it. And by the time it went around,
Oh, I
this
see.
bucket was full. And then they would fill this one again that rode alongside for the next one to come up.
Oh, I see.
That way they avoided people getting hurt so much.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the same rig that's still up there. You can see it.
Having to stop and start is hard on the clutch too. Is a lot of wear. If you have to stop the line and start the line, it's pretty hard on the clutch in that, eh?
Yeah, and they never stopped that line.
Yeah.
It was going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But this one detached completely, so then you had time to fill it, push it back on.
Show us how the bow wheel and the brakes work on this.
These are the original brakes. They would be put on at the end of the shift to keep the tension on for the next day. So because gravity was only
Yeah.
what kept this thing going. So you had the full buckets with push and pull down the mountainside, and at the end of the day, you always kept full ones on there, so there's always ones to go. But these are massive brakes that you put on all of these wheels. Also on this one, this one is kind of a special one, but the only way I could figure out is actually to pull this and would put it on like this, and it's like a parking brake.
And this is unusual because it doesn't have the what do they call those? The riblets in there?
Yeah,
Usually they have that.
grabbers.
This one doesn't have that.
The gravel grabbers, yeah. You didn't need these at the time
Yeah.
because it's a different tram.
Yeah. Well, this not being powered, there's no actual traction wheel, I guess.
Actually,
Eh?
Trenton Iron Works were the people or the company for North America that Adolf Bleicher went through. And Trenton Iron Works actually installed, they had a whole crew in east of the United States, and they installed these trams.
Yeah. So how many trams were there in this country originally?
Oh, I don't know. There was hundreds of these.
Yeah.
And actually, this is a hotbed for trams because a lot of these riblet, because he started to make trams here locally. So he made it in Nelson, right? Parts for his trams, and they were all over the place here.
24 is the last that we counted. 24.
So how many carts
All
were
in this area.
on this tram line? How many carts were on this line originally?
I estimate probably about 30 or 40.
Yeah.
I don't
And
think
how
it
long was the tram?
8,900 feet.
And any idea what it cost to build?
I think for that time, $20,000
Uh-huh.
in that neighborhood.
But-
I think what I've read, so.
But a miner would made about $3 a day, so it'd be about 100 times as much in today's. So we're looking at
Yeah,
about
yeah.
$2 million or so
Yeah,
to
yeah.
construct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, well, I mean, today, what can you build for $2 million these days? Eh?
Well, if you want to build a ski lift, I think you can talk to the guy in New Denver.
Yeah.
He wants to build, it's in the millions for sure.
And then interesting, the tram only ran for 3 months. The ore wasn't really that good, and it ran for 3 months and it was shut
Didn't
down.
find ore down deep. They had big hopes, and back then in them days, stock market was a racket. Mining has always been.
It hasn't changed that much. I mean, the investors' money,
It hasn't changed a hell of a lot.
the investors' money ran out and the mine shut down. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, the amazing thing is that they built this tram from about July till the 31st of December. And the 1st of January 1898, they brought down, just for the investors probably, they started tramming the ore down.
Yeah.
1st of January, middle of winter. And then they trammed it in 4 months. The glory hole up top was trammed and mined out and brought down the mountainside.
I think what they should have done is found the ore first and then built the tram rather than the other way around.
Well, back then they didn't have diamond drilling. So they just kept putting on the portal lower and hoping for the best. And they did find some, the first was for the one down below about 100 feet or so. But then it just petered out. So the ore must have shot up through the mountain in a small vein like this and
Right.
made a big bubble on top.
Okay.
But who knew that, right?
Yeah.
Anybody, it could have panned out like the Pain, right? The Pain had down deep lots of ore. They made millions and millions out of that, man. It could have been the same thing here.
Yeah.
But it was a gamble, and that's how mining is. And nowadays you have diamond drilling, so you can plan ahead. You can spend, a moderate amount and find ore bodies, hopefully, and then go for it before you install such a big.
It's a lot cheaper drilling a 1-inch hole than it is, an 8-foot wide shaft for sure.
Yeah.
in a tramway.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
But the way the ore is around this area here, it's always it all comes in kind of pockets and bigger. It still costs a lot to develop a mine here.
So most of the ore here is galena, and it was probably through limestone replacements that forced up through, through hydrothermal deposits.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Different than in Nelson, they had some gold there in places.
yeah.
It would have been nice here to have some gold, spice up the ore a bit, but.
Well, there was a lot of money made in lead in the old days. People don't talk about it. It's not the sexiest of minerals, but a lot of people made a lot of money from mining lead. Some big lead mines in the area.
It also, there was stock market crashes in the was 1893 and 4, and ore went, price of silver went way down, and that's when, because this mine was found in 1891, and until by then it recuperated in 1895, and then they got lots of big money from investors to get this ore down here because they knew it was there, that glory ore. And a lot of these mines are just similar.
So the investors would have been from where? From Europe?
I think a lot of American money was actually, it might have come also from England. There's some
Spokane,
reports
too.
that English money came over to overseas, all over, investors that had lots of money and was poured in. Like, they came north and because of Denver, Colorado, right? They came up here and they found this ore, and then investment was, you could get really, really rich if you had, like this mine here, if I would have been down deep ore, made lots of money.
Well, there was hundreds of millions of dollars worth of silver that actually came out of the Sandon area.
Yeah, that was the highest, I think, for a time, silver producing area in the world. Actually.
It all kind of started off with the bluebell in this area. That's where they started mining here, right?
Yeah, it's got a unique history too.
Yeah.
That bluebell, and what the handicap here was initially in the earlys, with Eimco, they couldn't, they got penalized for zinc in the ore, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of these mines that were heavy in zinc, like the Lucky Jim here in Metallic there, they got penalized and they didn't work because the Lucky Jim started really after they actually process was invented in Eimco for separating and the electrolysis somehow.
Yes.
And then the Lucky Jim started producing, and they said, we got the zinc ore, now we can finally get money for it, not get penalized for it. But initially it was a problem, a handicap for rich zinc mines.
Yeah.
Too much zinc in the ore.